kind of specific with respect to figuring out what you got to do under these laws. And particularly, it's understanding what service is being provided, where the setting of that service, that is the location of it, which becomes really critical, and the source of the referral, and really the referral recipient as well, understanding who the referral recipient is. We also know that radiology, these kinds of tests and so forth, include two components usually, and sometimes they're billed separately, sometimes they're billed globally. That is, what I would sometimes refer in my notes as TC, technical component, the test itself, and PC, the professional component or the interpretation by a physician or by a radiologist. So that, keeping all that in mind is really important, because sometimes we're really talking about just the test, sometimes we're talking about the whole enchilada. The setting is important, both of the referral source and the referral recipient, but particularly of where the test is occurring and where the interpretation is occurring. And that might be a hospital, it might be an office, might be an independent center, or as we talked about IDTF, it might actually be a center that's conducting teleradiology, because that is often now done a lot, especially in terms of the interpretation component, the PC. And then the person who's referring, in terms of their relationship with the recipient, becomes important. Are they the radiologist who's going to do the interpretation, him or herself? It's not usually the case. It's usually the patient's attending physician who will order these tests, and who may have some kind of financial relationship with the recipient, that is the center or the hospital or the medical group. Now, going beyond that, so we understand that these are kind of unique things with respect to imaging services that we have to know about, we have to be aware of as we're thinking about the compliance aspects. Now, as to the Stark Law and these related rules themselves, there's kind of more that they ask you to look at. So we're getting some basic facts, and then we have to kind of delve into a bunch of information, and kind of get the details of the arrangement. And so those review issues really entail a lot of things we're talking about on slide 5. First of all, we have to really know exactly what procedures we're talking about. We get it down to what CPT code where we are intending to refer or to bill, because a lot of this analysis really comes down to, are you dealing with a service that's covered by these laws? Not every service is. And that becomes really important with radiology, because there are certain types of radiological procedures, particularly many invasive ones, that may not trigger these rules. So we really got to know exactly what we're talking about. We have to be concerned about whatever the financial relationship is. Is it an ownership compensation arrangement? Is it both ownership and compensation? What exactly is it? We do need to get an idea of location, particularly if we're dealing with a multi-office location. What's happening in that office other than radiology or diagnostic imaging, or is it just solely for that purpose? And where are, if we're talking about interpretation, where is that being conducted? Is it being conducted in somebody's house? Is it in a teleradiology center? Is it at the billing practices location? Where is it exactly? And then we need to know more about the players, particularly the recipient, what type of entity it is it licensed, is it a Medicare provider, and often we need to know that for the referrer as well. And then, as we talked about, we have to be concerned about, are we talking about the technical component, about global billing, what is it exactly? So we have all these, you can see what happens when you do these analyses. You really got to get a lot of facts, and you also have to be aware of the nuances of radiology, of diagnostic imaging as it pertains to these laws. So just to remind ourselves, starting on slide 6, what does the Stark Law tell us? What is it about? And many people refer to it as a self-referral law, which has, in and of itself, is not necessarily that descriptive. What does it say? Well, it's the underlying requirement is actually pretty simple, and its interpretation that's caused so many headaches. basically a physician, and that's defined as a medical doctor, but it also other types of doctors as well. It could include dentists, psychologists, and so forth. But if you're in that category, let's just talk about an MD, cannot make a referral for what's called a designated health service, DHS, a defined term, to an entity, or what we would call the referral recipient, where the physician, the referring person, or his family has a financial relationship. Financial relationship being either an ownership, being compensation, being both. One of the three. Now, if you have those three components, you got the doctor, you got the financial relationship, you're referring for DHS to an entity that you have the relationship with, then the Stark law is really simple. You can't make that referral. You can't get paid for whatever that referral generates. Let's say it's a test or it's an interpretation of a test. You're not supposed to get paid for it because you're not supposed to be able to make that referral. Now, the thing though is, and the stuff that everybody gets excited about is unless an exception applies, and it's really the exceptions where you're getting into a lot more detail and trying to determine if you can go forward even though you have a financial relationship because you're accepted out of the law. Now, what is DHS? That's where you got to start with, because if you don't have DHS, you don't have to worry about this law. If you're referring for, I don't know, for something other than what's on the list, and that there's a lot of different things. Let's say you're referring for a physician service that does not involve radiology, does not involve any of the other, DHS services. That by itself may not cause a problem under Stark, and so it becomes again important to know exactly what it is you're referring, and best to get it under a CPT code. Under radiology, though, diagnostic imaging, the law has some descriptive terms, but it also has CPT listings too. The law says, as we say on slide 7, that it includes outpatient radiology and diagnostic imaging, radiation therapy, and even hospital services that may include radiology. So if you're in one of those categories, and that's what's being referred, then you have to be concerned about the law. And as I say on here, and I've already alluded to, invasive diagnostics or what they call secondary procedures, where the imaging is used as, let's say, to help a surgeon do his surgery, may not also be considered DHS. But it really does come down to the best way to determine it, rather than relying on those words, which are not very descriptive. They're descriptive, but they're not very detailed. Is to understand that that Medicare every year issues a list of CPT codes that it considers to be DHS, and I've included on slide 7 the general numbers, the general categories of numbers of CPT codes that are included as that are considered to be DHS. Now, it's not every one of these numbers, but if you're in the range of 70 to 74,000, 76 to 78,000, 91,000 to 93,000, if that's the CPT code you're dealing with, you've got a good shot that it's considered DHS. The best way is to actually go online. You go to the CMS website, look under Designated Health Service, and you'll see an Excel sheet. You can actually download it that lists every single one of the codes that it considers to be DHS, and they do that on an annual basis. So there we are. Let's say we have that situation. We have a doctor, a physician who's making a CT scan referral that's clearly under one of the CPT codes of a DHS. He's got a financial relationship. Let's say he's referring it to a medical group